I am known as the stress bender. So that's what I'm trying to spread with people is, we need more effective tools that actually help us manage stress. There aren't enough, and I really do think that Tai Chi can help. I did navigate a very, very complex and conflict ridden environment. I think a lot of people think that nonprofit is an easier place to work, but actually, what I have found working in both for profit and nonprofit spaces is when you have a profit motive, it allows people to come together for a shared goal in making profit. When you don't have a profit motive, then it's actually harder to get groups to work together. So the experience that I had navigating career advancement at Yale University, I started off as the manager of analysis in the controller's office, and I was promoted to the manager of financial reporting and analysis, and then I was promoted to the a finance director for their training and development. It was a new role that was created for me to be the director of finance training and development. And then I finished my career at Yale as the functional lead for our Workday financials implementation for the financial management team. And in all of these roles, I had a lot of conflict in my working environment, trying to work with people, coming up with situations that were very hard to manage and handle. And I did really find that my training in Tai Chi in its authentic form as an internal martial art really helped me to be able to navigate it in the least amount with the least amount of stress. It's very stressful. So whatever you can do to be able to manage that stress can really help you. So that's why when my master, she moved and wanted to give her school to me to continue, I actually left my finance career to take over Iping Tai Chi. And I have grown that into a brand with an online content aspect of the business. And so I love the opportunity to be able to share what Tai Chi actually is. Tai Chi, an ancient solution to modern problems. So we're living in this really stressful world, like with all this increase in technology, all this change. I have devoted my life to being a disciple of this discipline, and it's really helped me through my life as I navigated my relationships, my careers. So I want to introduce what it is about Tai Chi, why I devoted my life to it. When I started back then, no one really knew or had even heard of Tai Chi. Raise your hands if you've heard of Tai Chi. I mean, it's like pretty much everyone, right? And I think that that's because it's been in the news a lot. Just recently, another article in the New York Times. It's been a whole variety of articles on its benefits for both physical and mental health. And that's based on a lot of research on the efficacy of Tai Chi for clinical medical intervention. So now I think we're in a place, almost 20 years after I started, where everyone has heard of it. But what is it? So that's what I'm going to spend my talk on today. So let me ask you guys, what comes to mind when you hear the word Tai Chi? Like, what's that image that you get? Is it kind of like this? Yeah. So I think majority of the people, when they hear the term Tai Chi, they think of seniors practicing a slow movement exercise. And yes, this is Tai Chi, but this is a tiny sliver of what it's about. So I'm going to devote my talk on explaining what it is in the bigger picture. What is Tai Chi? It's two Chinese superlative words put together. Tai, Ji. Both of these words mean extremes.
So it's these two extreme words put together. It's a Taoist philosophy that's based on the concept of the yin yang, which we'll talk a little bit about. And it's often translated as the supreme ultimate, because you've got these two extreme words put together. So it's the supreme ultimate. So it's based on this yin yang theory. And I think a lot of people kind of have seen the symbol, the yin yang symbol, the swirl, where you have one side is black, one side is white. And this symbol represents in all aspects of life, there is a duality of yin and yang. And this exists. Whether you want the other side to exist or not, it will be there. If there's white, there will be black. If there's up, there will be down. If there's left, there will be right. For every point of view you have, there will be somebody else with the opposite point of view. Whether you want them to have it or not, it just exists. That is the world. And if you take a look at this swirl, there's another part of this concept where at the extreme of yang is the beginning of yin, and at the extreme of yin is the beginning of yang. I can give an example in the health and wellness space. I'm sure everybody knows of at least one person who has embarked on their health and wellness journey, either by starting a fitness program or starting a diet plan with the goal of being healthier, but have taken it to the extreme. Maybe took that diet to the extreme where it wound up making them sick, or took their fitness to an extreme where they wound up getting injured or getting sick. That journey, once you get to that one extreme, you go and you get right back to the opposite. And that's part of this philosophy as well. And an important part is also within yin, there is yang, and within yang, there is yin. Nothing is all one thing. People are not just one thing. Nothing is just one thing. So this is the yin-yang philosophy. Now, a lot of people have seen this symbol, maybe not knowing all the aspects of the philosophy, but one thing that it has become is this static image. And I want to talk about a really important aspect of the yin-yang. It is a philosophy of constant change and movement. So if you take a look at the swirl moves. It's not static because the world is constantly changing. So for us as people, how do we become more resilient? How do we handle that change? That's what Tai Chi is all about. You can try to resist that change. You can try to stay totally still, but the world is going to change around you. So imagine, if we look at this image, if you are within that black dot and that white swirl, and you want to stay still, it's going to move. It's going to move. So you can either try to follow that direction and move with it, or you can try to resist it. If you try to resist it, then what happens is physically, you will feel tense. Emotionally, you'll feel anxiety. And all of these things come together. So the more you try to resist change, then the harder it is to deal with the stresses that happen in life. And especially in our modern life, where the pace of change is dramatic. Everything seems to change right when we learn it. So if we can learn how to follow that direction of the change, then it'll be easier for us to become resilient. We talked about Tai Chi as the supreme ultimate. If you think back to the image of what you thought of when you thought of the word Tai Chi. Tai Chi is as big or small as you want it to be. This yin-yang philosophy is this biggest circle. If you take a look at the circle, this life philosophy, that's the biggest circle. In China, this is what the Chinese know of as Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is this philosophy of the yin-yang. But in the transmission to the West, it's become just a smaller circle that has transmitted over. So in the West, when you think of Tai Chi, you're just thinking of that gentle exercise. So it is true that gentle exercise is Tai Chi, but there's more to it. You take it up one level. It's also a stress management tool. because when you do Tai Chi, that's slow movement, mindful movement, that helps you to manage stress, just like all the other mindful movement activities that are out there. Take it up another level. It's a wellness method. It combines your strength exercise, your cardio exercise, and meditation all in a wellness method. And this is usually where the idea of Tai Chi kind of stops in the West. And then some people know the philosophy and they want to jump right to the philosophy, but you'll notice that there is an area of the circle that is also very important. Tai Chi is a martial art. So in China, we know of Tai Chi as an internal martial art. It's Tai Chi Chuan, the fist of Tai Chi. In the West, that part has been lost. In the Tao Te Ching, which is the text in Taoism, that's our most famous text in Taoism, there is a line that says, the soft and pliable will defeat the hard and strong. So Tai Chi Chuan, it's an internal martial art based on the Taoist philosophy. When you are met with hard force, instead of resisting or meeting it with force, it is more effective to relax, yield, and redirect that force.
So if you think about this concept, when you are pushing something, how are you able to push that thing? You need to get your hands onto some sort of tension for you to be able to push. So when you're pushing someone else, like if you think about a physical push, then what happens in that situation? When you're pushing someone and you're the one that's feeling that push, when you feel that push, that kind of makes you want to push back. But if you imagine water you can't even really push. It's so soft that it flows through your hands. But when water all comes together with a great force like a tsunami, it is so powerful it can topple steel and concrete. So this is the concept of Tai Chi that we want to tap into, that we are more powerful if we can relax, if we can bring our mind, our breath, our body all together as one and channel that power. And it doesn't mean being afraid and shying away. So I like to say that what we're doing is we're learning how to be strong, not hard, soft, not weak. You don't have to run away. You can face the conflict, but you don't have to be hard about it to be able to redirect it and go the way that you want. So, and that all starts with being relaxed in yourself, in your mind, your body, staying calm. We have some Tai Chi movement principles that are really important, and it all starts with the mind. It all starts with intention. There's this concept in Tai Chi that's very important. It's not just Tai Chi, all internal arts start with this concept that your your intention, leads the chi, which is your breath, and then your body follows. So the mind has to be there first. You connect your mind, your breath, your body all together, moving in the same direction. So often we are scattered in our intention. So if your mind, breath, and body move together, you think, say, do the same thing, then all of your energy can flow in that one direction. More powerful, more successful. Also important is to relax your body. So how we can channel all of this effectively and be strong, not hard, soft, not weak, is we have to be able to relax so that everything can connect and move together. And then the final thing, the most important thing that I think that Tai Chi helps you do is to understand your center points. Your center point you have to know where this is at all times, especially if you are somebody who is a go-getter. You have to understand where your center point is on your quest to achieve, that you don't lose your balance. You know where your center is. So you only go as far as you can maintain your center so you don't knock yourself off balance. Now, I would love to take everybody through some simple, very, very simple, but you have to be mindful to make this effective. We're going to focus on our posture and our breathing to stay calm. And I believe that it is so important to learn how to be calm. If you want to be able to command someone's attention, if you want to command authority, you don't have to be loud. But you do need to command a sense of authenticity, that you are confident in yourself. And that starts with a sense of calm. If you feel anxiety, then you will give off an energy that you don't have your center. You don't have your rooting. If you imagine a tree, I'm in Connecticut and I live in the woods, and we get hurricanes and northeasters and all of these that knock down trees all the time. There are trees with shallow roots that are knocked down, and then there are those big trees with those deep roots that will never come down because their roots are so deep. So that's the energy we want to convey as leaders, is we are confident because our roots are deep and we can be relaxed and nothing can knock us down. And that has to start with actually feeling that centering. So we're going to start with posture and breathing. Posture is really important, and it's not about, okay, I think everybody knows we lean our head forward too much and it's bad for our shoulders and neck, but it's so much more than that. Our bodies are meant to be symmetrical, and we need to be aware of when we have asymmetry. So the first thing I want you to notice is the feeling of your butt in the seat, and notice the two sides. Do you feel the same amount of weighting on the right and the left side? Or does one side feel more pressure than the other? And just take a moment to notice. And when you feel more pressure on one side, I actually don't want you to put more pressure on the other side. What I want you to do is imagine both sides coming more to the middle, to start feeling more of the sense of equilibrium down the center, to slowly balance both sides. And just feel that to the floor, and notice also your feet on the ground. Notice the right foot and the left foot. Can you bring an evenness to the feeling of both feet to the ground? And let your hands just gently rest on your thighs, and feel the weighting of your hands on your thighs. Right side, left side. Can you feel the same amount of weight on the right and the left? And the shoulders drop, and start feeling that you can channel the feeling of gravity through your body. Gravity exists. We drop something, we see it fall. Allow this force to flow inside your body. Notice rain droplets, small rain droplets fall down. That's rain. A lot of water interact with gravity, falls down as a waterfall. Our bodies are fluid. gravity flows down. See if you can feel that flowing down through your body so we don't resist it. And then now, allow yourself to relax. That's the most important thing that we're trying to achieve here. So allow yourself to relax into it. And we're going to notice our breathing. And we don't have to try to do anything special with the breathing. We're just going to notice the breathing and just bring your mind to your breath and just take a normal inhale through your nose. Allow that breath to just go down to wherever it would go naturally, and then breathe out when you feel like you need to breathe out. So we're just trying to follow the path of our natural breath. Don't try to breathe deep, just notice your natural breath. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. And just try to imagine the path, where it comes in, where the end of that inhale is, and where it goes out. And just do this a few times until you can kind of visualize in the torso area, where is that end point? And oftentimes that end point is here in that upper chest. We breathe into the upper chest area and then we have to breathe out, and that's okay. But I want you to take a little next step in your mindfulness practice and notice that space around the breath. And if you now visualize that your whole torso is like a deep well, and your breath is like a stone being dropped down the well. If your breathing kind of ends in your chest, then that means that the stone is trapped in the well and can't drop down. There's tension that's keeping that stone up here. So that's what we want to notice, the tension. There's all this tension that we hold in our chest that we don't notice. So I want you to notice, and just like how it is almost impossible to unravel a really big knot by trying to unravel it from the middle, we have to slowly work the edges. In order to relax tension, we have to slowly work the edges, and you have to use a visual that makes the most sense to yourself. Tension manifests as a different visual in different people. For some people, it might feel like a big ball of knots. For some people, it might feel like hard clay. If it feels like hard clay, then visualize moistening it until it becomes a softer dough that you can moisten more until it just completely dissolves. If you feel it as a big ball of tension, slowly unravel the edges until the knot becomes a little looser. That can then get unraveled more and more until it dissipates. And take your time to do that until you can really relax the tension in your chest. When you can relax the tension in your chest, notice how when you breathe, the inhale can come down a little bit lower. It's the same breath. We didn't take a deeper breath. It's your same breath. But because that tension isn't there to trap it, it can go down a little bit lower. And then you'll notice probably that the next area that it really gets trapped is your abdomen. We hold so much tension in our abdomen. And this is another area that just notice. We want the stone to drop completely to the bottom of the well. If it's trapped in the abdomen, then it didn't drop all the way. So Loosen up the tensions in that abdomen. And you do that. And then you'll notice that your breathing can become longer, thinner, not by trying to take a deeper breath, but just because you don't have all of that tension, that breath can become longer and deeper. And when you can get your breathing to become longer and deeper, it helps with your relaxation. So now we're actually going to move on to another. This is kind of like a Taoist secret that we practice in our Tai Chi and Qigong practice. And as I've been introducing this practice to people who don't know this, people are like, how come I didn't know about this sooner? And it's not like we were keeping a secret. It's just these arts, people weren't really interested except the people who practice. So I'm sharing this secret. Our jaws hold so much tension. We clench our jaws when we're stressed. So you probably notice that when you're stressed, you clench your teeth. And if you have a problem sleeping and you can't sleep, oftentimes you'll notice that you're clenching your teeth, your jaws get so tight. So we actually have a particular positioning. It's a tongue positioning that will keep our teeth separate so they can't clench. Take the tip of your tongue and just gently rest it to the roof of your mouth. And it's like right behind the upper teeth at the palate. And spread your tongue all across that upper palate while you close your lips and you form, it's called a Buddha smile, where you just kind of let it spread and it's just a gentle, serene smile. So the tongue should be relaxed. Don't put tension to the tongue, but if you let it rest right on the upper palate, spread it across, close your lips, form a little Buddha smile. You should notice that your teeth stay apart. And this is going to feel really weird if you're not used to relaxing this part. A lot of people don't realize how much tension they hold here all the time. So this is going to take a little bit to get used to. When you can relax the jaw, notice how the tension around your eyes also relaxes. You can tell when someone is stressed immediately by seeing their face because this part is all tense. It's hard to relax here. It's hard to relax your mind. The mind is like a runaway freight train. Once it's stressed, then really hard to get that to calm down. It's like the brakes get cut on a train, can't get it to stop. I like to call this hacking your mind through the body because there are a lot of things that we can do with our body to relax the body. That relaxing here will relax the tensions around the eyes and in the forehead. Then, when this part of the face is relaxed, the mind comes along for that ride. When you compare that with your breathing by relaxing the tension in your chest and your abdomen and letting that breath elongate, then that also helps with your mind. So this becomes this closed loop cycle of helping you to relax. There's always a closed loop cycle of either getting you to become more and more stressed or to help you relax more and more. So this is a way to help you relax more and more. And for now, hopefully you felt a little bit of that. We're going to take this to the next part where we're going to come onto our feet and really feel that grounding and centering and rooting. I find it to be so effective when we actually feel our centering in our feet. I believe that confidence actually begins in your feet. If you don't feel stable and centered and rooted in your feet, then you won't feel stable and centered and rooted in your mind. So we're going to move over to our feet now. I want you to stand with your feet shoulder width apart. And if you don't know what shoulder width apart really means, there's a really easy way to find that. And that's just to like gently kind of jump up and down. So I'll show you this one. I'll show you like if you where your feet like land, that's shoulder width apart. This is the most stable position for our bodies to be, and it lines up right underneath our shoulders. And a little bit of a bend in your knees. The reason why we want just a little bit of a bend in our knees is that will allow that lower back to relax. We are sitting so much all day. When we sit, the position is like this, and this is a lot of pressure into our lower back when we're sitting. When we stand, we're also standing like this with that same amount of pressure in that lower back. This is why everybody's back aches all the time. So, what I want you to imagine is if you're a side sleeper, I'm a side sleeper, and I have to sleep with my knees tucked up, like in like a fetal position. That is the only way I can sleep because that allows my lower back to stay nice and relaxed, nice and flat. So this is basically the position we want to put our bodies in when we're standing. And that requires a little bit of a knee bend so that this lower back can flatten out. You almost want to feel like there is a weight pulling that tailbone down, keeping shoulders relaxed, chest relaxed. And then remember, I mentioned that crown of the head, top of the head, there's like this string, this rope that's tied to the ceiling that you're hanging down. Still maintain that so that your head, neck align on top of your spine without lifting up your chin. So we want to relax, not add tension. But we do want to feel like a gentle stretch in the spine so that everything is in a better position. We want to feel now the contact of our feet to the ground. Just like when we were in the chair, we were trying to feel the weighting. Now, imagine if there were a scale for like right underneath your feet, right and left should have the same weighting. It should register the same on the scale. So often, people don't realize that they're leaning on one side, adding all this extra pressure that our bodies are not meant to support this kind of asymmetrical posture. So the more we can get our body's positioning to be even, the easier it is for us to maintain a calm equilibrium. So the only thing keeping us standing are our 2 feet touching the ground. So let's start there. Feel the weighting on the right and the left, and also feel the weighting of the front to the back. Most people are they put all the weight in the heel. And what that does is it actually locks your pelvis into place and you can't really relax. It's like an anchor in a bad position. So notice your big toe, especially. Do your big toes have as much weighting into the ground as your heel. And remember, our knees are a little bit bent. So if you feel more weight in the heel, gently let that spread forward a bit until it feels like your big toe and your heels have just the same amount. And you'll notice that your centering becomes right behind the balls of the feet, and that pelvis can be loose. And here, just imagine that you're laying down roots out of your feet into the ground, and we're going to become trees. An important part of Tai Chi practice is called tree pose, where we are practicing to be like trees with deep roots. And the more you can lay down those roots, the more stable you are on your feet. The more stable you feel, then the more confident you will feel. If your connection to the ground is only at the surface and you can topple over at any time, then you have to be very vigilant on maintaining your stability and you need to tense. But if your centering is so deep down into the ground that nothing can knock you off balance, you can relax. You can relax and be stable. And then you will have the energy and the confidence to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do with calm thoughts. When we're calm, we're more effective in whatever it is that we do. Just feel that gravity channel through you. So that is feeling our centering with Tai Chi. And this is really the start of it all. From here, then we can go on and keep that centering as we move. I was saying really important, no matter what it is that we're trying to achieve, we never want to lose our center point. So when we're coming forward into a push, we never want to lose our own center point in that push. And this is what we often do in life is as we're trying to achieve, we overshoot and then we fall. Right? So if you always know where your center is, then you can never overshoot, right? And then that is in whatever movement that you do. Even if you want to do something that is more complicated, as long as you maintain your own center point, you can do any other advanced movement, but it starts with the very basic of finding your centering in your feet, standing still. Your movements actually will be led by your breathing. So the concept is your intention leads the breath and the body follows. So the mind thinks first and then your breath and body go with that mind. So that's why the mindfulness aspect is so important. So often our minds and our bodies are completely disconnected, and especially with exercise, right? If your exercise is your traditional exercise, like at the gym or even running, your mind isn't in the movement. The mind is doing something totally different than the body. So Tai Chi is mindfulness practice. I like to say Tai Chi isn't something that you do. It's your way of doing everything. It really is a mindset more than anything else.